Booze and boards, boards and booze. Bad guys at large, it's bad news. No beer this time, so we won't lose. We found their lair, they'll pay their dues. The town is saved, so now we booze. Booze and boards, boards and booze. With Mickey and Jeb.
Does anybody think Jeb's shiny? Right up here?
Oh, God. Hitting the forehead doesn't make it less shiny, Mickey.
If I spit on it?
No, please no, hit it more. You know, you're acting very villain-like now.
That's a good lead-in, Jeb. Gee, I wonder what game we're playing.
Villainous. A game that I didn't even know about.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. But Mickey knew about it because it's Disney.
Yeah.
And his family likes Disney stuff.
This is true. So this was a gift to Hailey, who is guest starring in this episode, back from working at Disney for a quick visit. So she'll be a part of the 4-player game, because we'll have guest star Nina too, who rarely plays games, but she is playing this one because she doesn't want to be left out. So anyways, I guess you guys want to know about the game and not like who's playing the game. So Villainous is a game about the Disney villains, and basically the goal of the game is to be the most evil. The game is it has six different Disney villains, and it's an asymmetrical game. So every single villain has a different win requirement.
Yep, they all have
victory requirement, whatever, however you want to say it, and they all, from what we could tell, are like the mechanics are.
They're very
base
unique.
Mechanics are all the same,
Yeah.
but like it makes you do.
Yeah, the theme is very thematic.
Yeah, yeah, it's they did a good job of bringing some of the movie elements into the game, and it's also a heavy mess with other people in the game type of game. Mess in the game type of game. Mess with another player. And it's bad wording right there. But anyways, it's a punch somebody else in the face type of thing, because you know when somebody's getting close, and there are a lot of ways to like, ha, yep, nope, you're not getting there. So anyways, that's a quick overview of how the game's played. If you want to know the villains, we've got Captain Hook, Maleficent, Jafar,
Ursula, Prince John, and Queen of Hearts.
Right, and there already is an expansion out for this that adds. Do you remember who it adds?
Not Scar, because
it's not Scar. It's oh shoot, the Evil Queen.
The thing from the Frog Prince, I think, is.
Oh yeah, I forget his name. The voodoo guy from
I think
Princess and the Frog. No, it is. You're right. And then I think one other, and I can't remember who it is off.
Not Scar.
Was it the guy from Hercules? Was it Hades?
Oh, Hades? Maybe.
I think it's Hades. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, anything else we should...
2 to 6 players,
yep.
Ages 10 and up, and 50 minutes. The 10 and up, I don't know. You could probably go a little lower. I mean, it depends on the situation. Like, if the kid understands the win conditions and everything.
What did they put, 10?
10 and up, yeah.
I tell you, sometimes I almost feel like this deserves like a little bit higher compared to some of the other games that we play where it's like, oh, this is 12, 14, and I'm like, why? Where this one is actually, some of the mechanics can get pretty...
Yeah, there are parts that get complicated, but playing the game overall, like, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like move...
And Jeb did find online somebody that had rated the difficulty of the villains in play, so I guess you could always be like, here, play this one first. But absolutely 100%, you have to be able to read and comprehend pretty well in this. There's not it's not a symbol-driven game at all.
Right. The 50 minutes, though, I think is very generous because it can go on for a long time depending on who's playing.
Yeah, and how the cards fall and stuff like that. Now, granted, we went longer being our first time, too, and we didn't know. I did feel like we picked up as the game moved along a little bit, so maybe with some gameplay it does get quicker. But yeah, I totally agree with you. It might be closer to an hour and a half game. So anyhow, if you don't have anything else, I guess we'll get to components in a minute. And I would also say if you're shutting this off right now because you think it's like hey, I want to make money off of Disney.
Yeah.
You might want to watch a little bit because it is kind of interesting.
It doesn't turn out to be like that.
Yeah.
Compared to other games we've played like that. So.
You had something and I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was going to say if Hailey's watching, she should tell Disney to watch this episode.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll sponsor us.
What? What?
Booze and Boards and Disney.
They buy everything else. Why not us?
All right.
And we're cheap.
Exactly.
And we won't cost $1 billion, promise.
Right.
All right. We'll be back with components in a second.
All right, so we're back with components for Villainous. I was going to say Maleficent, but that's not...
Well, we do have components for Maleficent, but that's not the name of the game, Jeb.
Yeah, so we're going to go over the components real quick. There's not too many components, so as you can see, everything in front of you is what you'll be playing with. So the first thing is the board, the villain board.
So every player is going to take one. We have, for demonstration purposes only, we just have one character for you to see. We have Maleficent. So here's her board, again, with the, nice artwork, clips from the movie and things like this. Is very, very well done.
Yep, on the left side of her board, there is Maleficent's objective right here. And then each of the 4 territories has a name that is associated with them.
Yeah, so for instance, you have the Forbidden Mountains, the Briar Roses Cottage, the Forest, and King Stefan's Castle.
Right. Okay, next up is the Villain Mover, which for each villain they have their own mover, and it's pretty much the figurine.
Right, so Maleficent, Jafar, Captain Hook, Queen of Hearts, Ursula, upside down, and Prince John.
Okay. There's the Villain deck and the Fate deck.
This is the Villain deck, which is the player's main cards that they'll use throughout the game. The decks are color-coded on the back, and they have the name on it too, which might be a little difficult for you guys to see, and then some art, kind of abstract type artwork. The same artwork is on the white cards. All of the characters have the, what's it called again? The Fate deck.
Fate deck, yep.
And it has the same artwork, and it says their name on it too. So in the, if you end up dropping them or they get mixed up or something like that, it will be relatively easy to sort them. I think the white ones would be harder to sort than the colored ones, obviously.
Probably only because the color that they use for the text and art is very light.
Oh, that's a good point. They should have colored the lines green on that.
Because, like, from here I can't even see, I can barely see the stuff. So.
Yeah, but if they would have matched the color of that would have been a great idea. I didn't even think of that. So anyways.
Okay, and then we'll get into some of the components. So we have lock tokens, which are the big square tokens with a lock on them. There's the Fate token.
Only used in a 5 to 6 player game.
Yep. And then there are power tokens, which...
What's the power tokens?
We have sitting in the...
Cauldron.
Yep. And the only other thing left... I guess there's 2 things left. There is the reference card, which tells you what everybody's objectives are. That way it helps out, so you don't have to constantly ask people
what they're trying to do, and it gives the
what the actions are.
Yep.
All the symbols associated with them.
Right.
And then the last thing is the guidebook that goes with that villain. And this, I think, is one of the most helpful things because the whole booklet tells you like key cards and strategies for the villain.
Right. So you don't have to go into the game totally blind, so to speak. They actually give you, if you'll take the time to read this, it actually helps a little bit. And again, just to give you a little idea about what the game looks like, as you can see, you've got some, classic Disney art going on with all these guys here. Of all the components, I will say that the guides are the flimsiest, but they kind of have to be. Because they don't have to be, but I don't think it was a bad idea, because that would have taken up a lot of room to make it like a whole thick pamphlet stapled together or whatever. And it's kind of a bonus. It's not a necessity, but it's a very nice touch. Here's an example real quick of Jafar's deck. You'll notice that its main deck is black, still the white, but the design is different on it, and it still has his name down there. And real quick, there's like a picture of somebody else's board. There's a Prince John one. And again, shout outs to the movies. You got Sherwood Forest, you have Friar Tuck's Church, you have Nottingham, and you have the jail. So it's loaded with theme.
Yep. And that's everything for the components. There's all the there's 6 villains, and they all have their own components. Alright, so we're going to go through setup real quick, which, like the components, it's not too much to go through.
And basically each player is just going to do this, and then you'll be ready to go. It's an individual board type of thing, so there's nothing else to do except set your own play area up.
Yep. Alright, so the first thing, everybody's going to choose a villain, and you're going to take the villain board, the villain mover, the villain's deck, the villain's fate deck, a guide, and a reference card. So everybody's going to have all of these components. They're just going to be different colors and different villains. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to place the board in front of you, which we've done, and then you place the villain mover on the leftmost space. So on the board there's 4 spaces, and Mickey just put the mover on the leftmost. Next you're going to check to see if there is a lock token that needs to be placed on your board.
Okay, so if there's a lock token, it will be in the last spot down in this corner. It's very hard to see. Here is somebody that has it, and it's still very light, and it's hard to see. But if you have one, Jeb's going to give you a close-up.
Yeah. Okay, they can see that.
You take one of these big fat locks, and you just set it on there so that you know that it's locked.
Yep. Next, you're going to shuffle your villain deck and place it on the left side of your board.
Which we just did.
Yep, and underneath it is the discard pile, so when you discard cards, you can place them under there, whatever.
Meaning, like that.
After that, you're going to draw 4 cards from your villain deck, and that is your starting hand. And these you want to keep secret, don't let anybody see them, if you don't know how hands work in games. You never know. Next, you're going to shuffle the fate deck, and like the villain deck, below it is the discard pile. Next, you're going to place the power tokens in the cauldron, and this can be placed in the center of the table so that everybody can reach it.
Whoops. This is not all the power tokens either.
Right.
It fills up.
Yeah. And then the final thing, you're going to choose a first player, and there are some bonuses that you get if you're not first player. So first player just starts like this. Second player gets 1 power token. Third and fourth players get 2 power tokens, and fifth and sixth players get 3 power tokens. So it's kind of you're not going first, so you get a little...
Because that's a bunch of turns that 5 and 6 could get picked on, so they gotta put some balancing in there.
And that's everything for setup.
Yep. So we will just jump right into, I think, mechanics then, huh, Jeb?
Yep.
What do you think about that, buddy?
I think that's what we need to do for it to be an episode. Okay, so the game is played over a series of turns until somebody meets their objective for winning the game. And it's pretty much you take your turn, once it's over, go to the next person, and just keep cycling like that until somebody wins. So the things that you're going to do on your turn, the first thing is you move your villain mover. So Mickey's going to show the hand to you guys. When you move your villain mover, you have to move it to any space, or you can move it to any space that is not the space that you're currently in.
Right. So you just can't sit there and do the same action multiple times. So I'll just go here.
All right. The second thing you're going to do is take your actions in any order that you choose. So in each of the 4 spaces, there are 4 actions, and they are represented by symbols, which you can use the action reference guide to...
Until you remember what everything is, there's the action symbols are right on the back or the front, depending on how you look at the card, and what they do. So real quick, I'm not going to try to describe the symbols, but I'm going to tell you what some of your actions are. You can... Unless Jeb was going to.
Oh yeah, I'll list them and you can tell them.
Oh, okay. Maybe you guys can actually see some of the symbols when I point to them.
So the first one is gain power.
Okay, so the power ones are usually just basically a circle with a number inside of it. None of the other symbols have numbers in them, and that's just take that many power tokens.
Yep. Next is play a card.
Play a card is this one. If you can see it, it looks like a card with an arrow pointing up in it, which, the go or the play symbol on a VCR or DVD player or not a record player. Tape player.
You want to throw out some more old technology?
8-track player. Laserdisc player.
What were those little things that you wind up and it plays music? I can't remember the name of them. They're little, yeah, I'm cutting that part out.
Jack in the Box? Is that what you're thinking of, Jeb?
Yeah, because Jack in the Boxes play music.
They do!
Oh yeah, they do. Alright, we're totally sidetracked. So when you play a card, you play one of the cards from your hand and you pay the cost to do it. The cost for cards is in the top left, and that's how many power tokens you have to return to the supply in order to play the card.
Right. And so while we're talking about cards real quick, do you have a section on cards?
Nope.
All right. So, like Jeb just said, top left corner is how much the card costs. On the bottom, it tells you what kind of card it is. This is an ally. This is an item. I think there is something else too.
Oh, it's the purple one. Maleficent has them. Curse or something?
So there's effects also, and there's curses in this one. There could be...
Not everybody has
the same stuff, but I believe that affects allies. There's conditions.
Yeah.
Etc., etc. The point is, the bottom of the card tells you what type of thing it is. Also, some of the cards are pretty much allies, have a number in the bottom left also.
Yep.
Don't confuse that with the cost of the card, because that is like a power strength type of number that you can combat the heroes, which are the bad guys to you in this game.
Alright, and if you want to grab those cards, and we'll move these to the side so they can see how you play a card. Say Mickey wants to play a card because...
So you can do the actions in any order. So the first thing I would do, because I can't play any cards if I don't, would have been take the 3 power and put those in front of me. Alright, and then what I was going to do, I will pay 1, and I will play this item, and it's called Spinning Wheel. If a hero is defeated at this location, gain power equal to the hero's strength. So I'm going to go ahead and set that right where I am for no particular reason because I
Yes,
don't know the character that well.
The key is he could place that card on any 4 of the things. It doesn't have to be where he's at. He's just happening to do so.
Right. Which, that's what I was going to do next. Play another one.
And he can play a second one because he has a second play a card action on the space that he's at.
Okay. I'm going to put that one here. Right, like Jeb said, I have 2 that I can play. Well, a lot of... It's hard to play 2 in a turn. This one says, if Maleficent is at this location, the cost to play an effect or curse is reduced by 1 power. So, if I was a smart person, I would have played this first on this spot, and then I would have been able to play that for free.
Yep.
And not spend any money. If that didn't make any sense, listen to what I said again. Rewind.
Rewind. You have that ability.
This is the play symbol. I don't have the rewind symbol for you.
Right.
Anyways, that's playing cards.
Yep.
If an ally, same thing. They would go under one of your spots. They would just provide some power for you to fight things. An effect is going to just do something and then get discarded.
Right.
Okay, that's kind of like an instant in this game, or an immediate, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
and then
the key thing to remember is that when you play cards from your deck, they go underneath your board.
Right. Or they're going to get discarded.
Right.
In general, because again, a lot of the villains do different things, and you're going to have cards that do things that other people can't do. So you're going to have to figure some of it out.
Yeah. All right, so the next action is the activate action, which I don't think Maleficent has. I'm not seeing it.
Nope, I don't think she does either. I can try to find one, though.
What the activate action
Here
looks like, it's a card with like some shining light rays going around it. Above my thumb. Yeah.
So, now you're getting into a perfect example of how asymmetrical this game is. Like, this card literally doesn't have that action, even though it is one in the game.
There's no point of looking in the deck because she doesn't have the action.
Right.
So, the way activate works is for each activate symbol, you can pick a card that's underneath here that has the activate symbol, and you can use that effect. So, some allies have an activate thing, like, Mickey's going to pull one out.
So here's the snake staff for Jafar. Notice that it actually has the activate symbol on the card. So if you're on a space with that symbol, you could activate this card.
And this card could be in any of the spaces.
Right.
It doesn't have to be where you...
Right. It just means you can activate something somewhere. It does not mean that you can activate every card that has that symbol. You can activate one thing.
Because there are villains that have multiple cards with that. The next action is the Fate action, and this is kind of the mess with your opponent action.
Yes, this is very much the mess with your opponent action, and all the boards have it available to them somewhere.
Yep.
The symbol is, in this case, is in 2 spots here, and it's a cloud with a lightning bolt on it, and that is when you get to draw from somebody else's Fate deck and mess with them.
Yep. So if I say Mickey's Maleficent and I'm somebody else,
and we'll put somebody else.
Well, I was going to be the someone else doing it to you, so you could put your cards.
All right, fine. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
So say I do the Fate action. I'm choosing Mickey, so Mickey has to reveal the top 2 cards of his deck, his Fate deck.
To Jeb.
Can't see them. Alright, so one's King Stefan, which is a hero, and one's Sword of Truth. So the Sword of Truth actually says attach it to a hero, so no heroes are out there, so that would just be a waste to pick. So I'm going to pick the King.
So I'm going to discard that.
Yep.
And then Jeb gets to put this wherever he wants.
Yep. So I am going to not put it here because that's a bonus for him. I'm going to put it over here.
All right. So now it conveniently covers up these actions, so
Yep.
I don't have access to them anymore.
And he also has an ability.
And it says, when King Stefan is played, meaning putting him down, you may move Maleficent to any location. So I can, you
I'm
know...
going to move him here, so next turn Mickey can't go there to get 3 money.
Right. So you can look and be like, oh, wait, if I move him to a certain place, I can block at least something. And notice that the heroes, here's where the strength of cards come into play. The hero has a strength down in the bottom left. This hero is a 4. And we will get into combat in a little bit, but just know that they all the heroes have some kind of strength number.
Alright, the next action is move an item or an ally, which is in the second spot on the top next to the 2. It's a card with an arrow on the left and right, so it's kind of telling you what you can do, and what that is you select an item or an ally, so something under here, and you can move it adjacently to the left or right.
And remember, we're going to say it again, when you get to an action, you can do it anywhere. Just means you have the ability to do the action. So this is an item, and it's move an item or an ally, so I could literally move this over here if I wanted to, because I can't move it here because that's not a spot.
Right, and that's another thing. The board does not wrap around,
Right.
So moving left here does not place it there.
Right. But this is an item also, so if I needed to move this, I could put it here or here, and then if I did it again next turn, I could get it over, so I could do the bonus thing that Jeb was talking about, maybe, and get rid of that hero. I mean, that's a little bit of strategy and probably should be cut out, but whatever, I'm just rambling now.
Alright, the next action is move a hero, which I don't know if she has. Is it covered up by that one? Because if not, then... Nope.
No, so that's a card with a, what's the symbol? Lightning bolt?
The lightning bolt.
Right.
So it looks exactly like move an item or ally, except it has a lightning bolt on the card. Right. And what that lets you do is pick a hero in front of you and move them to the left or right 1 space.
That is actually one of the more rare,
Yeah.
I think, symbols, too.
I think Ursula should have them.
Ursula does not have that. Yes, she does. So, Ursula actually has it. It's right there where Jeb's thumb is. So it is exactly the same as the item ally one, except since it's got the lightning bolt in the middle of the card symbol, that means you can move a hero. So the same effects. This is a hero card. They could move it either left or right, not this way because the board ends.
Yep.
So.
Alright, the next action is the Vanquish action. It looks like a spiky mess. I don't know what that is.
I almost feel like it's supposed to be a tearing of something is what it is, but I don't know what they're tearing. That's right. So it looks like a broken something on it. And what does that do, Jeb?
That is where you can defeat 1 hero using allies at one of your locations.
All right, so now we gotta set up a little bit so you guys can see how this works. All right, so we're gonna pretend a little bit here that we have stocked up the board, and I was able over the course of time to stack an ally here, and actually that ally right in himself will do it.
I'd throw another one out there for an example.
And here's another one. That guy actually has an ability.
You can move the staff over. They don't care about that.
And actually, if I do this, then you get to see overage sucks.
Yeah. That's what I was going for.
All right.
Alright, so when you take the Vanquish action, you are going to pick allies at a location to fight a hero. What you're going to do is total their attack or strength and then compare it to the heroes, and if it's equal to or greater than, then it defeats the hero.
Vanquishes him.
Vanquishes them. The key thing to remember is whoever you use to vanquish the hero is going to get discarded.
Yep.
And that's where you kind of have to think about it.
Right. So, this I have a 4 and a 3, and he's a 4. So obviously I'm going to use the 4, because if I use the 3, then I have to use the 4, and I would discard both of them. If I just use the 4, that is vanquished, that gets discarded. However, this guy says Sinister Goon gets +1 strength if there are any curses at this location. So if I had a curse at that location,
he'd be a 4.
like this, then I would be able to get rid of the lower strength guy instead and keep this 4 here to make it more difficult for somebody. Now, there might be ways where you don't have to get cards that affect things and don't make you get rid of it. But in general, it doesn't matter how much you used of an ally.
Right.
So if I had an ally that was a 5, and I attacked this guy, even though I have 1 strength left, so to speak, if you're thinking about like how mechanics work in other games, not the case. He goes out, the hero goes out.
And you only can vanquish 1 hero with that action.
Yep.
So if there's 2 heroes there, you don't sum all the heroes and all the allies.
Right.
That's not how it works.
Right.
You pick 1 hero, and that's who you're vanquishing.
Right. So
let vanquish. Do a vanquish right there with whatever.
All right.
And just show them where they go.
I am going to not have this curse like we started with, and I will just use the 4 to get rid of this. This goes in the discard. This goes in the discard.
Yep. And that is a vanquish action.
Hopefully that made sense. We probably made it more complicated than it really needed to be, but there's a lot of situations on how it works. I think the key to remembering is if you use an ally against it and you don't have anything to prevent it, it's going in the discard pile.
Yeah.
And the same with the hero. It's going in back to its owner's discard pile.
All right, and then the very last action you can do is the discard cards action. And when you take that action, it's actually a picture of, you can kind of see a hand of cards.
Underneath with an arrow with a card with an X, like getting chucked out.
For that action, you can discard as many cards as you want from your hand, and that's it.
Right.
At the end of your turn is when you'll be drawing back up. So.
Right. So don't do that first.
Right. so when you pick the discard, it's literally just discard as many cards as you want.
That is one of the actions that I had to remind myself over and over again, because there is not an inherent discard mechanic in the game. And there was many times where I'd be standing and I'd start to discard and I would be like, I don't have that action. And they'd come right back into my hand. So if you have cruddy cards in your hand, it's almost forcing you to move to one of those spots, because there's no other way to get rid of them, unless you just want to spend the money for garbage.
Yep. And then that's all the actions you can take. So once you take all your actions on your space, the last thing you're going to do is draw cards, and you just draw your hand back up to 4. And there is no discarding before you do that, as Mickey said. So that's how an entire turn works. It's move, take actions, and then draw back up to 4.
Yep.
And
in case it wasn't clear, remember when Jeb placed this on here, this spot now only has 2 actions.
Right.
It is clear that the card is supposed to cover those, and it covers them for a reason.
Yep.
So
it makes you have to get rid of that, and if you want to be able to do more.
Yep. If you need to use a spot and somebody messed with you, get rid of it, or you're going to have to take a lesser spot.
Yep.
So, game did a pretty good job of balancing things out so you don't get totally hosed out of everything you need.
Yeah.
The worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to take you 2 turns to get back to a spot that you needed to use. Exactly.
A couple of things to remember is that there are items that say after you play them, they have to be attached to something.
Right.
So if there's nothing to attach it to, you can't play that card. Or in the case of the Fate deck, it would just fizzle and get discarded. Right. And then once an item's attached to an ally or a hero, if that ally or hero leaves play, so does the item that's attached to him.
Right. Which is a very good point. So basically, that's easy enough to figure out from the Fate deck, but in a nutshell, what Jeb's saying is you can't play a card with no effect.
Right.
For the most part. I mean, because if you can't do it, you're not allowed. You don't have another way to discard.
Right.
You.
Another thing is the Fate token. So if you want to grab them, or grab that and show them.
Boom.
In a 5 to 6 player game, now you'll understand what this does. So if it's a 5-player game and I just fated Mickey and put a card out, he would take that token, and what that means is nobody can fate a person with that token.
Right. So Jeb plays this on me. I put this clearly in front of me, and that means that until somebody else gets fated and takes this away from me, people can't touch me.
Yep.
Which is nice, but it's gonna go away probably quickly.
Yep. All right. And then the very last thing, which we should probably talk about, is the win condition. So in the game, there's 6 villains. 4 of them have a win condition that say, at the start of your turn, blah, blah, blah. So once you get that condition, you have to wait until the start of your next turn to be able to win the game.
Right.
So
this actually has one of those conditions. Maleficent's objective says, start your turn with a curse at each location. I didn't catch this when it's funny how people read things differently. I immediately said, oh, I have to get all those things before I win the game. I think it was on Jeb's. He was like, oh, I put these out to start the game. And since it's the win condition, that would be like, oh, what, it was somebody else have to run around real quick and eliminate it? So, no, this doesn't mean you get to start the game with your win condition. It means you have to get there.
Yeah. And then the other 2 villains, I think, are just when you meet that condition, you instantly win.
And trust us, the ones that don't have that are tough.
Yep. So that's everything for the game. We're going to have a 4-player game.
Yep. So if some of this was a little too fast or whatever, watch, like we always tell you, watch, I'm going to say 15 minutes of this one, I think.
Yeah.
Watch 15 minutes and you'll probably see most actions happen.
Right.
And watch the whole thing if you want to see. We have a pretty back and forth.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense game, especially at the end. So it's a good one. And then after the game, we'll be back to give you our thoughts on Villainous.
Not Maleficent.
Not Maleficent. Well, you might give some thoughts on Maleficent.
Yeah, maybe.
But probably not, because you're going to play Jafar, aren't you?
I am.
All right.